Springs Preserve is the location of the original springs of Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Springs, or the Big Springs. And it was that water that obviously brought the railroad here and brought the people here. But knowing where the water was located, knowing where they could get the water, where they could pump the water out of the ground using water wells, the Springs Preserve and what used to be called the North Wellfield were an important part of the growth of the city.
Early in the development of the city, the water supply from the springs seemed inexhaustible, even conveniently flowing freely to the surface, so it was a relatively simple process to route that flow and then treat the water. But as the increasing population stressed the supply, it was soon necessary to pump water from deeper in the ground.
And so it made perfect sense to turn this area into a water procurement facility where they could pull the water out of the ground, treat the water, and then pump it on out to the rest of the city and town. Back in the early 1900s, as far back as 1905 and 1908, there were water wells being drilled in the Las Vegas Valley.
So, over the next 40 years or so, the wells began to pop up all around the springs, marking the area with distinctive wooden towers.
Back in the 40s, when wells like this were drilled, you had to have a superstructure over the borehole. And so the superstructure of that well derrick is about 35 feet high, and at the top you had what was called a crown. And the crown was really just a hook where you could attach cables, chains, all the piping, the pumps that had to go down into that borehole. And so rather than build a new well derrick or dismantle the well derrick every time you had to service that well, we just left these in place.
As the years passed, the wells either dried up or were replaced by more modern technology. But due to their formidable construction and the arid desert climate, these derricks proved to be impressively enduring, and many have stood strong, eventually winning a place in the hearts of the locals.
The water well derricks that we have are all historic at this point. They've been decommissioned. They've stopped pumping water. Well derrick number 5, which is behind us here, we stopped using that in 1971. So it's been out of use for about 50 years. But because of its location right next to the highway, because of where it is, it's become such an important symbol of the Springs Preserve. We want to make sure that it's maintained and cared for.
Which is why we bring in the best to ensure their integrity.
The builders of old knew what they were doing from experience. And so look and see if the wood is in reasonable shape, but keep the basic structure as they built it. So when restoring, we always would, maybe if there was a badly splintered piece of wood or something, we'd remove that and replace it with something equal so that when you walked away it was the same as it was essentially historically.
Mel Green has been monitoring and guiding the efforts to maintain these remaining derricks for over 25 years, a task that for the most part has been relatively easy since they were so well built to begin with. But lately, concern has grown about the condition of one of the local favorites.
We fixed these up about 20 or 25 years ago, looked at cracks and patched or replaced lumber, and particularly we're focusing on well number 5, which is in the subsidence area. And what are the options there?
The well derrick number 5 behind us has suffered subsidence, and so we actually see the evidence of what happens when we overpump water and we pull the water out of the ground too fast without understanding what's happening underneath the ground here.
Well derrick number 5 stands only a couple of hundred feet from Highway 95, and thousands of commuters pass by it every day, making it the most well-known of all the derricks. But the ground beneath well number 5 has dropped more than 5 feet over the years, and that has placed stress on the wooden structure, putting the famous landmark's future in peril.
We measured it today, and most of these are about 12.5 feet square, and that one's, because of the twisting and torquing, is 11.5 on one side and 13 on the other, and you could see where it's kind of working back and forth like that. One of the options is to pick it up and move it. Well, that's not the best solution. How can we stabilize what's underground? How far down is there solid soil that we could then perhaps build some foundations or pilings to hold up the derrick and then fix it up and make it a structure that will last.
After 2 weeks of inspection and deliberation, a plan is being formed to save derrick number 5 in the place where it has stood for over 50 years, assuring that it and the other derricks will continue to stand as monuments of the historic struggle to find and provide water to the thirsty population of this arid desert city.
The water well derricks have kind of become a very important symbol for the Springs Preserve. It's on our stationery, it's on our license plates. And so these well derricks really are an important symbol for the Springs Preserve, but also for the history of Las Vegas, the history of the Las Vegas Valley Water District. And so they tell a very important story about the growth of Las Vegas and the growth of the Water District and eventually the growth of the Springs Preserve. We want to make sure everybody gets to enjoy and understand them.